When you have a spouse who's been diagnosed with a mental illness, what you first of all have to do is develop a solid support team. There's no way you can handle this on your own. I'm Dr. David E. Clarke, and this is Ask Dr. Clarke. If you've got a question you'd like me to answer, just email that to my email address, davideclarkephd@gmail.com. It could be a marital crisis, could be a personal crisis, a family issue, and I'll answer it in one of these nifty little videos. Now, today's question. I was wondering if Dr. Clarke has discussed diagnosed mental illness in marriage somewhere. And she says, thank you. Well, the fact is I haven't, but I'm going to do that right now, at least in a nutshell. And keep in mind for all these videos, if you've got a question you need to ask me that takes more time than these brief videos, you can use my phone advice service also on the website, davideclarkephd.com, along with all my other resources. But when you have a spouse who's been diagnosed with a mental illness, what you first of all have to do is develop a solid support team. There's no way you can handle this on your own. You need a psychiatrist for the medication. You need a psychologist for the counseling, or a solid licensed therapist for the counseling. You've got to have family, close friends, a pastor, an accountability partner for both spouses, maybe even a small group. And you've also going to have a clear written contract concerning how you're going to manage the mental illness. Verbal is not going to be good enough. It's written out, and key members of the support team, certainly your spouse and yourself, sign the contract. Here's how we're going to handle it. How many times you're going to see the psychiatrist, the taking of medication faithfully, how often you're going to be in counseling, how the support team is going to operate, the careful monitoring of the mental illness. And you also build into the contract clear consequences if you are mentally disordered spouse who's got the mental illness, even if they're on medication, if they're going to go off the reservation, if they're not going to follow the plan, there have to be consequences, or they're going to keep doing that. So if you don't take your medication, if you don't see the psychiatrist, if you drop out a small group, if you are completely out of control, then steps are going to be taken, and that is part of the contract. You as the other spouse will call the support team. There'll be interventions. You'll call the pastor. You'll call the psychiatrist, psychologist who's involved in the case. If the behavior is out of control, if it's a bipolar that's flying off the handle, you will call the police. That's part of the contract, and you'll have to do it. You may have to take your children and leave. So all this is part of what you have to do with a mentally ill spouse. It can be done with God's help and grace. Your spouse can't control the fact that they have a mental illness, but what they can do, and you require them to do this, is to learn how to manage their mental illness.